Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So this is a relatively early Friday morning. I hope everyone has a decent Friday so far. Let me check my volume, make sure my mic sounds nice. I still have to get my other mic fixed. My wife is going to be like, why are you still using that mic? I bought you this other mic. Yes, she did. She was trying to be helpful for the show. And for whatever reason, after a computer update, it stopped working. This very specific one is not going to be long because I have another few behind this that I want to get to. But I have a block of my day in this morning that I want to have to move on, in which case I want to have to do shows this evening. But I wanted to get this one done first. One of my subscribers, HB, sent me this. It's 2015, but I don't necessarily care. Historical context is welcome on the show. And it's about the FBI. I am a lefty. I don't wake up in the morning and say I'm going to be a lefty. It's just is what it is. This is just the way I am. When I look at the world, this is the way I look at the world. I take on certain perspectives. Those perspectives are the ones. Some are just inherent. And from that perspective, I look out at the world and I kind of, I punch. I don't necessarily like calling myself anything, even though I do call myself a lefty. Because the moment that you get stuck in I'm this, oftentimes you feel like you have to defend that. So it's like you're punching out, forgetting the fact that there are other perspectives. Perspectives are relative that can punch at you, at the margins of your particular perspective. Taking one perspective for every particular issue, you're going to come off wrong in some of that stuff. Because again, perspective is relative. If Hitler is going into Poland, and you're still sitting here like, nah, I believe he could be reasoned with, then your perspective would be wrong. You would be anti-war. Under normal circumstances, that's actually a damn good perspective. But he's going into one country after the next, and you're sitting there with your thumb in your ass talking about he's reasonable, and we can work with him. Perspectives are relative. Even some of the best ones, in some situations, will be relative. Now, I say that purely to say, and that's somewhat besides the point, that as a lefty, I am somewhat antagonistic towards and extraordinarily skeptical of power centers. I tend not to like them. I tend to think that oftentimes, especially when it's unchallenged, and especially when people are giving this kind of unimpeachable quality to it, that there tend to be things that are going down that shouldn't be going down in those situations. I mean, I don't necessarily think I'm wrong on that. I mean, you have something like, let's say, like the Pope. You have all these things that are going on in the Catholic Church. And all these things going on in the Catholic Church, they're religious. They're holy. They're wearing these awesome clothes and these awesome suits. It's impossible that they're touching and fondling and having sex with children to the degree that people are saying, no, it was. That's exactly what was taking place. They were having sex with children. They were calling themselves religious. But at the end of the day, they were having sex with kids. What about federal or criminal institutions like the FBI? What about the FBI? What about the NSA? These guys are literally going into people's information. These people are literally bypassing people's privacy and in many cases locking people up, putting people into cages. We act like these things are unimpeachable, but I'm asking the question, should they not be challenged in the same way that other institutions of power be challenged? Shouldn't they be questioned? Shouldn't you hold them with a certain amount of skepticism and scrutiny? Yes. Yes. As a lefty, yes. I don't care if they're going after Donald Trump. They still should be scrutinized. They're not these paragons of virtue. They're institutions like other institutions, and if you take your eye away from them, they will be rampant with corruption and anything else. They're human beings. You give them the opportunity to be corrupt, and you don't pay attention to the fact that they're being corrupt. You're going to get corruption. One of my subscribers, HB, sent me this. One second, guys. FBI agents gave erroneous testimony in at least 90% of microscopic hair analysis cases. That number is magnificent. Some of these cases involve people being put in prison. Many of these cases involve people being put in prison. Some of these cases even involve the death penalty. They lied. They lied. After an in-depth investigation into criminal cases in which the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation conducted a microscopic hair analysis of crime scene evidence, the agency has concluded that 26 out of 28 FBI analysts provided either testimony with erroneous statements or submitted laboratory reports and erroneous statements. The news was released today in a joint press statement with the United States Department of Justice, the Innocence Project, and the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. This came out in the Washington Post. So this wasn't just a random article. This was something that came out in the Washington Post, co-signed by the Department of Justice. It gets worse. In 2013, the Department of Justice and the FBI, in collaboration with the Innocence Project and NACDL, announced they would conduct a comprehensive review of cases in which the FBI laboratory reports and testimony included statements which were scientifically invalid. The agencies agreed to undertake the review after 3 men who had served lengthy prison sentences were exonerated by DNA cases in which 3 different FBI hair analysis examiners provided testimony which exceeded the limits of science and contributed to their wrongful convictions. That's a nice colloquialism for they lied. They said something that wasn't true, and somebody was put on death penalty in some part based on the evidence that they gave that was lies. They lied. Call it what it is. They lied. Don't use this colloquialism. Exceeded the limits of science. That's nice. I like that. I like that. When you're locking some stoner up because they had a little pot on them, and they're making this argument that this is horrible, this is, God knows there's nothing that this can be used for. These people are animals. These people are maniacs because these people decided to smoke a plant. Use that terminology. What these agents and these officers are saying about it exceeds the level of science. It exceeds the level of sanity. They lied. They lied. They don't get a pass because they're wearing a suit and they're from the FBI. They lied. And not just lied, these people got convicted in part because of their lies. How are there no consequences for this? Why do they not get prosecuted? If you're literally working in the capacity of the government and you're taking a position that's going to get somebody put in prison, and what you're saying is not lining up with the evidence, why do you not get a pass? What you're doing is getting somebody put in prison. Shouldn't there be consequences? Shouldn't there be extraordinary consequences with such an extraordinary capability that you have under this game space? Let's keep going. Focus on cases where prior to 2000, when mitochondrial DNA testing on hair became routine at the FBI, government identified nearly 3,000 cases, 3,000, in which the FBI may have submitted reports or testified in trials using microscopic hair analysis. The review encompasses where FBI microscopic hair comparisons were used to link a defendant to a crime and covers cases both in federal and state court case systems. As of April 2015, the FBI had reviewed over 500 cases. 500 of those cases. The majority of these cases were trials and the transcripts of examiner testimonies reviewed. Some of these cases ended in guilty pleas, limiting the review to the original lab report. Out of the 268 cases where examiners provided testimony used to inculpate a defendant at trial, erroneous statements were made in 257 out of 96% of those cases. Damn. That's amazing. Defendants in at least 35 of these cases received the death penalty, and errors were identified in 33 of those cases. 9 of these defendants had already been executed, and 5 of them died of other causes while on death row. The states where capital cases The states with capital cases included Arizona, California, Florida, Indiana, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Texas. It should be noted that in these ongoing processes, that the number referenced above will change. That is a magnificent number of cases. Death row or already have been executed. That is a magnificent number of cases, 90-something%. Let's say they're wrong. Let's say 70%. I'd say this, and I use this because 90% is such a magnificently high number. That means at a certain point, the assumption should be that you're wrong. The assumption should be that they were just lying. And the lies always went into one direction. One direction. He's guilty. He's guilty. 96% wrong. Look, I'm hitting the FBI on this because the FBI is that particular organization. So fair enough. But let's be fair to the FBI for the moment. Let's be fair. They're just human beings. Like, they're human beings functioning within the capacity of the system. And the workable point of view of that system is to put people in cages. That's what it boils down to. We've given them the task of investigating something. Now, somebody said, this guy's guilty. We believe this guy's guilty. And here's the evidence to back up the fact that this guy's guilty. We're going to send this to the hair lab. The hair lab is working in the capacity of the FBI. And the hair lab is also in the business of getting people locked up, put in cages, put in prisons. It's their job. Why do you think that the agent in the hair lab just so happens ends up on a particular point of view in a disposition? Their point of view. All of this. It's not directed towards the perspective of this person could be guilty. The entire process, everything that's kicked off in this process is, this person did something and this person is going to be put into a cage. We need to make sure, we need to get the evidence to put this person into a cage. They have a cognitive bias, just like everyone else, as human beings, have a tendency to have cognitive biases. Now, that's just them being human beings. That's just them being human beings. We need to be less involved in putting people in cages. That's the truth of this. And we also, as human beings, need to be more skeptical of these organizations when they're coming out saying, this is the word of God. This is the word of God. You've given us all of this power as a public and everything else, all of these resources, all of this money, all of this capability within this game space to put people in prisons. So now everything that we tell you is the word of God. No, it's not. You should be skeptical. You should be skeptical. Wesley Walker Jr., good morning and happy Friday. Absolutely, Wesley Walker, and thank you very much. Guys, I appreciate your super cash and your Patreon donations. It does help the show keep kicking along. I've said before, I tried to make the show into something that's a little bit more part-time. In fact, not just a little bit more part-time, it's part-time in general. So yeah, your donations, your contributions, your patrons, your super cash, your PayPals, all those things are help, and those things are appreciated. Yeah, guys, this one is not going to be long. This is just hey, by the way, the FBI lied in 90%, 95% of those cases. Happy Friday. That's what this is. And this is sent from a friend in my mail. HB. He goes by the moniker HB. It's not her bastard. He's a right winger. He goes by the moniker HB, but it's not. But it's HB. Look, organizations, institutions that are not challenged, that are given a pass, are going to be rife with corruption because they're given a pass and they're not challenged. There's nothing there to ensure that there's any level of sanctity or very less any level of cleanliness within the organization itself, because these organizations are fundamentally unchallenged. The DNC, the Democrats, some people who consider themselves deeply progressive, have now venerated the FBI because the FBI was going after Donald Trump and they didn't like it. They're giving the FBI a complete pass on ideas of, hey, it seems like you were working in coordination with one of the campaigns. You're not supposed to do that. Gave him a pass on that. Gave him a pass on spying on the Trump campaign, even though they lied to the FISA judge by not giving him certain information. And even if he did get the information, 99.7% of those requests are approved. You have a problem. I'm talking to the United States, to the people of the United States. You have a problem You have a FISA court that 99.7% of the requests that are sent by FBI agents, human beings, to spy and rip apart people's lives are approved. That's a secret court. That's the thing that you were complaining about in the Soviet Union. That is a secret court. Literally, that's what that is. That secret court is creating cases on you using secret evidence to which they would have a parallel reconstruction for the agents themselves in these local offices. This is being used against you. This is being used against you. I'm talking to the American public. Be aware. Be skeptical. These organizations, just because they're organizations does not mean they're the word of God. And yes, they fuck up. They get things wrong just like anybody else. In this case, 95% of the analysis and the testimony they gave were lies. They were lies. This article is going to be at the bottom so you guys can see it. And I'm going to go to my other stories. So I'll see you guys in about 10-15 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Oh, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, there's always Patreon. Thanks, everyone.